Welcome back to Cards and Comics, and today I have my national pickup video for 2022. So, I'm going to start with I want to, go in the cards in order that I picked them up, and you know, it's important I go in order because that's sort of how I remember everything, but also gives you my mindset as I was going through the show and what I was really looking for, and how I was, really kind of building the momentum of my collection as I was going through the show, because I was making decisions based on kind of the last thing I picked up. Now, the first card I'm going to show, I did not pick up at the show. So this is going to be sort of like something I just want to show because this came in the mail the day that I left. And so I feel like I got it at the show, but it's something that came in the mail the day before I left, or the day I left. And this is the 1997 UD3 King Griffey Jr. auto. And you can see the auto right there. It's a ballpoint pen auto. And it's just such a cool card. And I feel like this card, again, it's super undervalued in my opinion, just because it's such an early autograph. And, I believe it might be the first pack pulled Griffey auto. I know there's a 96 SPX, but I believe that SPX is something that you got as a redemption or came in a box set or something like that. I'm not sure it was pack pulled. I have to do some more investigation on that card, but this card definitely was pack pulled, and it's such a cool card. I really think it's something that, I think it definitely has the ability to go up in value over time. And, you can kind of see it's kind of got the see-through cell. I mean, it's a cool, wood grain, card. I mean, just a lot of coolness in that card. And this came in basically the day I left. So I picked this up on the same day I went to the National. So I feel like it's such a cool card. It actually had to go through eBay's authentication, but there's the back. And so there we go. So they start off really, really nice. I got that card to start out. So the first card I actually picked up at the National, was, a card from a guy who had some really nice Griffies. And he had a couple really good, what I call second tier Griffies, but they were still really good because they were still numbered. So they were like Topps Gallery gold or reds that were numbered to 50, I believe, which are good cards. They're not the top of the tier, but they're definitely part of that second tier numbered cool cards, worth good amount of money. Now they did have some showcase rose zeros numbered to 250. So some really good high-end Griffey cards there. So definitely some cool Griffies there. But the card I bought from him was this card, which is the Diamond Soul, kind of that, that kind of reflective, almost sports flick-like card. It's a cool card. And I think it's from Flair Metal, Metal Universe. It's one of those really cool cards. You don't see it very often. It's not something you see, just every day at a card show table. So I went ahead and grabbed it because I don't have one of these. It's ungraded, so this is definitely going to go eventually to PSA at some point on a sub. I did do a bunch of $18 in the back. It's hard to see because it's not. I'll show you the back. There we go. Now I did do two $18, special subs at the show. I did one pre 1996 and 1996 and after, so like present to 96, and then 95 and older. I did two different subs. So I'll have a vintage card sub with some early 90s Griffies, and then I'll have a post 96 sub with mostly newer cards. So I got 21 and a 22 card order in PSA. So that's 43 cards based on 150 day, service. It's obviously closer to 5 months. So we're looking at December when those should pop. So hopefully that doesn't get delayed, because there's a lot of people who are very worried that PSA is going to get back into the horrible return times with the show special and just kind of how they open up grading, but we'll see. Now, the next card I picked up was the number one card I was at the show for. Bar none, this is my number one Griffey card I was shooting for. I never expected to be there. And when I saw it, I immediately was like, I'm doing everything in my power, even if I have to just pay cash for it and walk out of the show with no money. I was going to do it because this is the card I came for. I can't believe it was there, and it's the Crusade Green Griffey Jr. and it's SGC pre-grade 85. But as long as it wasn't like a 5 or 4, I was going to get it because this is a card, and now this card, you might say it's numbered to 250. Like what, like it shouldn't be that hard to find. What you don't understand is that this is probably one of the most beautiful insert sets ever made, in my opinion. I think the Crusade set is, to me, the nicest insert set ever made, in my opinion. Now people will say mirror golds, finest refractors. To me, this is as beautiful as cards get in the 90s. And so to me, it has that kind of special place in terms of 90s inserts. Now, the other side of it too is, for me being a Griffey collector, obviously this was a card that's special. But when I was a kid, I was entranced by these cards because they basically were they were a secret insert. Like they weren't announced. So people weren't ready for these to come out. And when they came out, they were, again, an unannounced insert that no one knew was in different products. And so you didn't know how many cards were in the set. You didn't know what players. And there was a different version of this call, like the Call to Arms version, which was a different design, which isn't as nice looking. So you didn't know who was in that set. It was just like very confusing. But the idea that, this card existed, they were super rare to get. I opened some product in that time period. I've opened multiple boxes of these products, that have this exact card in it on my site, on my channel. I've never pulled a Crusade. I've never really seen a Crusade pulled live. I mean, it's like they're super hard to pull just to pull them. But the idea of getting, a Griffey was just so, as a kid and even as an adult, it's just so hard to even find these cards. And then the other side of it is this, that, I'm putting the whole green set together. So I'm trying to find, and this is obviously the key card to find, the Jeter and some other players, but this is the card. You can't put the set together unless you have the Griffey, right? And the other side of it too is this is why the National is so relevant to this day. Like a lot of people question, like, why do we need the National? You've got these pop-up trade nights that are just as good that you could just, a lot of people, and they're awesome. They're great. But the National itself is relevant still because cards like this are there, and everyone who's at the show has an opportunity to find cards like this on dealers' tables and make offers and put together a trade, cash, go out and sell cards, come back, buy the card. But this kind of card on auction, you could get Griffey collectors that go nuts. I'm going to tell you, like, this is what happens. And you just can't buy the card because someone's going to come in someone always has more money than you at some point to buy these kind of cards. Like you may think, okay, the last time this card sold was $2,400. I'll pay a $3,000 bid and somebody's going to come in at 35. Well, then you come in at 4 and someone's coming at 45. That's just my experience, is that some of these Griffey collectors have such deep pockets. They don't care how much they pay for it. They just want to have this copy or multiple copies or whatever it is they're going for. But the opportunity to own this card is so tough because you have to compete with all those Griffey collectors, and there are a lot of them out there that need this card, that want this card. Some people have multiple copies, and so being able to go to a show and just see it on a table and to be able to say, I want that card, what does it take for me to get it, was an opportunity that only comes at a show like the National. Because this card sometimes, and you can see what it was priced at, very expensive card. But I was able to do a completely trade only deal. I didn't spend a dime on this card. I just traded cards I had with me. A lot of them were Marvel cards, and a lot of them were modern football. So a lot of modern football, a lot of Marvel, cards that I had with me. And, that dealer does do a lot of unique stuff. So they wanted stuff that was rare and unique. So I had a lot of cool Marvel cards that were unique, and I had a lot of some, football cards, and he took an actual Johnny Bench rookie off me too. So, it was a good deal for me. I was able to, move some inventory that I had for a while that I got on ComC, open a lot of packs of Marvel, Fuller Ultra Spider-Man, and some of those cards went on this deal. And it worked out great for me. I got a Griffey Jr., one of my favorite cards of all time. And that's the thing that, when I talk about that 68 3D Clemente, my number one card to go get at every show I go to, it suffers the same thing, is that when it goes to auction, there's always someone who needs that card on the Clemente registry set that has more money than me, and I never win. No matter how much I bid, or no matter how much money I put away, there's someone out there who can just pay a little bit more, and willing to pay a little bit more than I am, and I just never get the card. This was my one chance to go to the show and get the card and not have to worry about someone coming in at the last second and say, I'll give you $3,800 for it. And so that's important, because, that's why these shows are relevant. You can just get the card because it's there. And even if you have to overpay a little bit, at least you get the chance to own it. As a collector, that is very, very cool. Now, the next card I picked up was at Trade Night. And so from the same dealer, I picked up 2 cards. And I traded one of my Cobb cards in on these 2 cards and paid cash for the balance. But the first one up is a 56 Mickey Mantle. And to a lot of people, this is their favorite Mickey Mantle card. And, and to me, it is one of my favorites as well. This is the year he won the Triple Crown. This is a very well-centered version of this card. I'm going to take out of its sleeve, because the sleeve is a little old. And, I didn't pay that price for it. I did get it really close to actual last sold. And, it did do, this did, this is a really nice version of this card. Very well centered. You can see just how nice it looks. Nice borders. You can just see, little corner wear, but a really nice copy. So, I was just happy with this card, right? So this was kind of what the trade was about at first. But when I looked at this at what other cards he had, I noticed another card. And at first I mistook it for a different card. I actually mistook it for a Cy Young card. When I realized it was actually a Cobb card, it really, really excited me, because, there is, by far, and then here's the back, it is a gray back, not a white back. So a white back would have been cooler, but again, this is still a really nice card. Now, the other card that he had, like I said, was a Cobb card, was the green Cobb. And this is an SGC 2. And again, this is probably the hardest to get Cobb card, and just, of the different variations. It's so much rarer than the red card. It's just so much lower in pop. It's a normal back, not a terrible back, a little staining, but looks pretty good. And again, it has some creases there, but overall, super nice color, nicely centered. Borders are still reasonably white. And again, it's a 2, but it presents very well. And so for me to go from, I had an E93 Cobb to this Cobb, I feel was a good trade-off. It was an upgrade. And I was able to pick up that Mantle at the same time. So to me, it was a win-win. And so I'm in love with this card. I just think it's a great card. I'm super happy that I was able to pick up something, this nice. And not have to, again, pay, the full price in terms of, I was able to trade and cash it down to make it, something I can actually afford. And that's sort of what you can do. And the trade night was great because, again, I got this card. The last one sold for $13,000, and I got it well under that. And so is that the last comp? Is that the actual real price? I don't know. Cobb cards went up really, really high in value, and they might come down a little bit. But I feel like I'm in this card safely. It's a great card. It's going to be one of those cards that collectors always, always want, because this is probably, to me, the most desirable of all his T cards. And so I'm really happy I finally got one. Cobb in a T card because I've never really owned a T206 Cobb. I've owned a T205. I've owned an E93. I've owned the 33 Gaudi, but I've never owned a T206 and never, ever had a green. So this is the first one for me. So again, and that was my biggest pickup of the whole show. Now, when I picked up the Griffey card, I told my daughter that I could just go home now because the Griffey card is such a big card for me. And I was just like, if I don't get another card of this whole show, I was going to be happy and just go home. But, on the vintage side, to pick up at trade night, both of these cards in one deal, just shows you why the trade night's so damn cool and why some of the vintage dealers don't like the trade night, because these cards are trading hands and they have no cut in that, or no ability to weasel their way into that deal by saying like, well, we're the only ones that can trade and sell cards like that. Now, my next pickup was just me walking around and I noticed this card because I seen some really nice 90s inserts. I saw like, I saw a couple of no name on front Frank Thomas's, which are always awesome. There was some legends, upper deck legends, Griffey autos that were really amazing. Great cards. I saw one dealer had the Derek Jeter Tops the Man refractor, and he wanted 10,000 for it. But when I saw this card, I just had to have it because I'm starting my, I've been collecting, Barry Sanders. You've been watching my mail days. I've started a small Barry Sanders PC. This card came up and I was like, wow, I can't believe this card's here. Now, to be honest, there was another Barry Sanders card there that I almost bought as well. That was the Precious Metals Donner's Preferred Barry Sanders that someone had, but it was a little overpriced, even for me. Like I love inserts, but from the 90s, but it was significantly priced higher than the last cards it sold for, and even comparable players. So I felt like it was just a little too overpriced. But this card was priced perfectly, and it is the purple Crusade Barry Sanders. So, again, my two PC guys for modern-ish players is Griffey and Barry Sanders. I'm low-key buying Frank Thomas when I get a chance, but really these are the two guys I've been paying most attention to, and to get both of their Crusades, and this is the purple, and again the purples are numbered out of 100. So to get a Crusade of Griffey and Sanders in the same show is pretty damn awesome. And again, these are just such beautiful cards. And I'm super, super stoked to be able to get this card. And to pick up both it and the Griffey in one show is just really, really cool. And I never thought that in a million years that, that would happen. So I'm still looking for the green, obviously, but now I'm like, maybe I should get the purple in this. Well, that purple Griffey is going to be even more painful from a cost perspective. I bet, it's going to be such a challenge, but that's what, you do, you get challenged to go and buy these cards and find these cards. And then can you work a deal? And again, that's what's fun about collecting. But I was able to get both the Griffey and the Sanders Crusades in one show. That's pretty awesome. So I was super stoked about that. Now, the Griffey auto I talked about a little bit that I eventually got was the Chirography Griffey. And it's the one that I think is probably to a lot of people, their favorite Griffey auto, just from a photo design, just, a nice auto. This is a great auto. So again, this card should probably eventually be graded. But this is a nice card. The guy just got it in a trade. I paid, a little bit over comp for it, but I was able to trade him down a little bit with some other cards. So, end of the day, this is just a beautiful card. It's one of the most iconic Griffey autos. So, I've definitely got three of the, really key Griffey autos. I've got the retro, I've got the Chirography, and I've got the SP signature. So that's three. And obviously the next one to get to the legends, but that will really put me close to having all of the key Griffey autos that exist, other than the Mickey Mantle dual auto. That card doesn't interest me as much as it used to, because there's been so many shenanigans with that card that it's losing a little bit of the luster with me. But cards like this are just really pure, clean, nicely, designed cards that have no, to me, shenanigans I know of in terms of secondary aftermarket autos applied, that kind of stuff. Again, this card is one of the, key nicest Griffeys made in the 90s. So, I was able to get this. So again, after getting that second Griffey, so I had the 2 vintage cards, not a Maze, not a Jackie. I was going for Maze and Jackie. That was my 2 biggest targets. I did find a really nice 50 Bowman Jackie that I almost got that was actually under comp by quite a bit. And if I was just doing things based on value, besides the Ty Cobb, which I got the Cobb well under comp, last comp, the Jackie 50 Bowman Jackie Robinson would have been the next card to logically get because it was so far under comp. However, it was off center. And that really kind of gave me some pause because, eye appeal is very important. And still, you still need to have enough eye appeal to have people interested in buying or selling a card. And I felt like the eye appeal was a little low, and probably why I still had the card. And so that's why I didn't do the deal, even though it was worth the money. But the last card I picked up, and again, I paid $50 more than the average VCP price. So I paid a little bit over, but it definitely was worth it. This is a really, really nice card. And it's a 59 Maze PSA 8. And again, I was trying to do a deal for an 8.5, and I couldn't get it done using my satchel page. So I ended up, getting the Maze card anyway. And this one is super nice. And again, I don't feel like I'm losing anything from an aesthetic perspective. To me, it's as nice of a 59 Maze as I've ever seen. I don't think the 8.5 would have been an improvement. In fact, this is graded before the 8.5 grade was implemented. Who's to say that this card could be an 8.5? It's super nice. It's got one little corner touch up there that may not give it that grade, but I still feel like this card is super nice. It was, nice, clean back. I feel like this is one of those cards that, I don't think I need to improve upon it. If I have an 8 or an 8.5, this card is about as nice as you can expect on a 59 Maze. And so I'm very happy with the card. And so if you lay everything out here that I picked up the show, you can see, I was picking up, cards that, have, some similar aesthetics, similar, for me anyway, but you can see I was still being opportunistic, when I got a chance to get a deal, I was trying to take it. So like the Cobb, the Mantle, these cards were more about opportunities to pick up a deal versus, just, being a slave and say, I'm only here for Jackie Robinson and Maze cards because that's what I, originally came looking for. But, this card was an opportunistic buy. I don't think I'm going to ever regret buying a Purple Crusade Barry Sanders. This was my number one, modern card to look for. And I grabbed it. This is obviously something that, I just love. And I wanted to pick up a Griffey auto, and I did. This was what I came for, and I was able to pick up a nice copy of a 59 Maze. I don't have, and I think this is as good of a copy as I could find. This Mantle was just, sitting there at a good price, and I was able to work a cash trade deal and get these 2 cards, so that was opportunistic as well. And this was just like sitting around someone's table, and I just grabbed it, for a good price. So this is my national. Hopefully you guys like what I have. Tell me what you think about what I picked up. And again, this wasn't about flipping cards. This is like literally every card in here, except for maybe the Mantle and Cobb, are part of a PC collection that I'm just putting together for, me and, and for what I collect. So, these 2 cards could be traded at some point in the future, but I love having Mantles, and I have about 6 or 7 Mantles. So I'm never going to say I'm doing a Mantles base set, but when I get a chance to pick them up, I will. But this card definitely replaces the E93, and I definitely love having Cobb cards. So, I'm not going to move it unless I have, a great offer on it. So there it is, guys. That's my Nationals pickup. Hopefully you like it. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.